All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris. I am back with another video here. So, just wanted to say this is going to be the last video that I'm going to be doing in this format with my phone. I'm trying some different things and trying to rearrange some stuff in the studio, so that's why I'm not recording like I normally would be right now. So, another loss, 6-2. I think it's pretty safe to say that the season is probably over at this point. There looks like there is absolutely no life left into this team. It is a useless pulse. That is what the Flyers are left with. It just looks like something that is just a dead animal in the road. There isn't much else that I can really expand upon that, and now the video is over. No, I'm kidding. So no, I mean, look, it's really unfortunate. I mean, to have a season like this where you go into the season and the hopes were higher, I think. I didn't necessarily think it was going to be this good of a season. And because I do think the Flyers definitely made strides. They definitely made strides this year. Like, could they mess around and still make the playoffs? Sure, they could. They could somehow pull wins out of these next couple of games and get in. Do I think they will? No. And it sucks. It really does suck. I mean, to have this good of a season and to have this big of a collapse, it's awful. It is brutal. It is a horrible way to end a season. But it does feel a little different to me. And the reason I say that is because I look at this as an organizational standpoint. This is much different than 2 years ago. When they didn't sign Johnny Gaudreau a couple years ago, I went ballistic. I went off. I said, there's no plan. There's no direction. Most people probably remember me saying that as one of my most top videos that I've made in years. And you go back and watch it, and you'll hear the same things. When I look at this team now, and I look at where they are, and I look at some of the strides that they made this year, I think some guys took a huge step, and I think the entire organization, in general, took a step. Where I think the Flyers lack in the rebuild, obviously, is high-end talent. You've heard it all year. You see it on the roster on paper. You see it on the ice. They don't have a power play. The penalty kill from really the second half of the season wasn't, I don't know the exact numbers, but just off the top of my head, not great. They do not have a number one goaltender right now. And they just don't have a guy who can be clutch yet. And that's fine. Because, again, they weren't supposed to be this bad. My problem with this now is, again, I said this last video, I don't think John Tortorella needs to be here the entire rebuild. I don't think John Tortorella is a guy that you do a full rebuild like that with. I think if you wanted to fix the culture, the standard, the whole thing that Tortorella says, that's done now. That is fixed. Now it's just doing the right things on the ice. The fans are back into it. Again, ticket sales. I said all this last video. Ticket sales are up. The fans are back into it. The on-ice play has gotten better. And the room and the culture of the Flyers seems to be better because that group is very tight-knit. Very tight-knit. And everyone sees it. I don't even think I have to point that out to you. It's just something I have to say because it's basically a proven fact at this point. So, when I look at this and I look at this team, I think there are some issues. I think with Tortorella, and this has been my gripe, is that I don't necessarily think that a lot of the buttons were pushed in the right ways. I think some of the buttons that got pushed this year, like example for scratching certain guys like Couturier, like Atkinson. Not saying that some of those guys didn't warrant a scratch, but again, you have to look at it on the other side of it. What do those guys in the room think? I'm not in an NHL locker room. I don't go into the NHL locker room. I don't know what goes on in the locker room. I don't know what's said. No one does, right? Unless you're in that locker room. I'm not going to sit here and say that, that I know what goes on, because I don't. But I will say it does look a little concerning to me when you have this far of a season in, you have a 7-game losing streak after you just went back and forth with the New York Rangers and almost beat them, and now you don't know how to play hockey again? Like, that's a little concerning to me, especially when the looks on the bench are just frustration and the 1,000-yard stare. every night since then. Like, I don't think it's that crazy to say. Do I think Torts is a bad coach? No, I don't. I do think there are some good things that Tortorella does. I just don't think he is the coach right now for this team in a rebuilding state. Now, the counter argument is, would the Flyers be here without Tortorella? Probably not. Probably not. And that is very true. That whole statement bodes very well. You know what I mean? Like, there's a whole backup to that. They played well. They had a really good PK, the whole thing, right? But at the same time, they collapsed at the most important time of the season. So it's not like, you know, Torts, he got it's like, how much did he really get them there? I'm not like trying to say this is all on Torts either, because it's not. Like, some of the guys completely vanished. Farabee, Tippett, Konechny, Lawton. I mean, for large stretches of the season, Lawton was basically invisible. Coots is obviously injured and everything like that. That's a whole thing. Urson. I mean, and look, it's a hard circumstance because the Flyers are doing this in the worst possible way. Unfortunately for them, they lost a really good goaltender in the middle of the season. And that's not, and look, I'm not going to sit here and get into the whole Hart thing because I don't need to. But when you look at this and you look at kind of where the roster is and all that, like, it's proven that they're one of the worst team save percentage in the NHL since. So it's since that date, in January 20th was the last game. So, which, again, is one of the best, you know, the game before, the Dallas game, January 18th, looked like one of the best games of the year. The vibes were high. The Flyers were rolling. Only had 5 more games until the All-Star break. It was like, let's go. Let's just keep moving. We got the All-Star break coming up. We're going to make the playoffs this year. And then everything, it just all hit the fan at that point. It felt like each game, like, it got worse a little bit. Like, yeah, they had some big wins. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I didn't still believe. But, like, you know, when you keep watching and you keep looking at the same things, it's just like it's over and over and over again. And, like, to me, it's just the same things. Like, you know, it really doesn't matter who is in net, I feel like. Look, I think there are a lot of different things with this team that we can nitpick and say, you know, what is what, or, you know, what we think is what. Just because I think Torts lost the room doesn't mean he did, or doesn't mean that everyone has to agree with that. Like, that's perfectly fine. It's just something that, you know, when I've watched I've watched hockey long enough to have some sort of an idea of the game. And I think, you know, when you look at it and you look at kind of where the team is at and just the overall makeup of the Flyers, they don't have it. And it's an epic collapse. And it sucks. It really does. I mean, look, I was dying to watch playoff hockey this year. Dying. And the best part is they're not even mathematically out. So I could be going on this whole rant and they could still make it. Who the hell knows? Because the way that the East is going, it's a seesaw every night. So, I don't know. I mean, the Flyers are mathematically out right now. Do I think they'll get back in? Probably not. I don't know. I mean, as for tonight, like, you had, and I know I haven't even talked about the game tonight yet. You got the 4-minute power play in the first period. You do nothing with that. You know, the Columbus gets one, and it's a seeing eye shot. It doesn't touch anything. Columbus had a couple really lucky bounces tonight. I'm not even at the point where I want to go into, you know, players and all that either, because it's just, I'm just kind of let the season go at, you know, end, and then I'll kind of do that at the end of the season. But, like, I don't know, man. It's really frustrating. It really is. I mean, to have a season like this and to believe and to get back into it. I mean, like, the fan in me was able to come back out again this year. And that's one of the biggest things that I think that I could take away from this season was, you know, there was at least the joy in watching the team again. Did they get there? No, and they still could, right? But at the same time, like, it doesn't mean that I don't even know what to say. It's such a brutal way to end the season, and to have a year like this and have multiple guys and that play well for long stretches of time. And I mean, there certainly are some questions that need to be answered. Like, obviously, there's goaltending. There's probably going to be like 5 goalies at main camp next year. You know, Urson, Fedotov, Kolosov, Peterson because he's on contract. And I'm assuming the Flyers may probably sign somebody else or someone else from the Phantom. So a lot of competition for the starting spot. Not saying that, you know, guys like Peterson are going to get there. I'm just saying that they'll probably be at camp. It's just I don't know. I mean, it just sucks. It really sucks. I mean, I don't know if the Flyers do the coaching switch now. Like, do they try to fix that? Do they try to, you know, do they go with a different voice, a different direction? Like, again, because I feel like you have a good chunk of your core. Like, you have a good chunk of your younger core that you can build around now. Like, you have connected, you have a captain in Couturier. You know, you got Drysdale, you have York, you have Sanheim. Like, some guys played really well throughout a lot of the games this year, and it sucks. And I do think there is a positive side to this of kind of choking like this. And I'm not saying that I want them to, because it blows, right? I mean, it sucks. Who wants to watch this? But at the same time, like, this also kind of makes you a little hungrier for next year, and it makes you want to dig deeper for next year and all that too. So I don't know. I mean, look, I could be totally way off. I don't know. That's just how I see it. Again, thanks everybody again for all the support as always. The game was the game. I mean, there's not much else I can say. Like, they look completely lifeless right now, and to go down 3-0, and then 𝐼𝐏𝐿𝐿 gets his first NHL goal. That was a good moment, obviously. I mean, 𝐼𝐿𝐿's a guy that he's worked his ass off the past couple of weeks, and he honestly could have scored last night. He had like 5 chances, and then he scores tonight. It just sucks. It really does. So, thanks everybody again for all the support as always. Make sure to check out Maher Media and all the things that we do. Appreciate all the support as always, and I'll talk to you guys all again soon. See you guys.